Thanks, Darren. It's funny because it'd already gone. Second reminder. So when you hear this being talked about, you can't help but imagine how it would be different. I don't think there's any way you can not imagine how it would be different. So I'm listening to this as me, one might say, as a seeker, and then the one who's speaking, the one I'm listening to, there's no me there. So how is that different from being me? Well, it isn't any different. It's exactly the same and completely different. And I know that's not helpful to the one who wants it to be different, but that's as close as I can get in words. So it is utterly different, but it's exactly the same because there was no loss of the one who wanted it to be different. So to put it another way, there isn't a no one any more than there is a someone. So when you're seeking, you feel you're someone who's looking to become a no one. Well, there isn't a becoming a no one. There's no more a no one than there is a someone. There really isn't any difference. There just are no ones. So the idea of being no one is just as much a something, a someone, a somebody, just now a no one, than the whole idea of being someone. There isn't any difference between the two. There actually isn't the two. So this message isn't saying that you can become something else. There isn't something other than what is, and what you've called yourself is what is. It could just be very obvious that what you've called parts of what is that are mine, and there are parts of what is that are not mine. That's the illusion. You know, I own bits of what's happening, what's going on, what seems to be going on. Some of that's mine. And then some of it isn't mine. It's either someone else's or something else's. I attribute ownership still to, for example, you know, the perfume of a flower. I'd smell the flower and the smelling of the flower would be mine, but the perfume was not mine. That's the illusion. And if you think about it, of course, that's not how it is. There's just smelling the flower. It's not how things are experienced. It's not how life is experienced. Life is absolutely direct. You could say it's one, but that's saying too much. It's not really one. Even that is attributing too much. It's not known. and yet it's completely known. You don't know where anything's coming from. There's no knowing. And the illusion is that I know, for example, the thoughts about the flower, well, they're mine. The feelings about the flower, they're mine. But the flower isn't. Oh, unless, you know, they've been bought by my lover and I'm treating them as precious and I've already taken ownership of them. You can do that with objects, of course. All of that is just an elaborate story that attempts to make sense of what's going on. But the wonder is that all that is unnecessary. There is no need to know what's going on in order for what's going on to be exactly as it is. That's the love. That's the rest. There's no need to know. And all the knowing, everything I say I know, is absolutely illusory. I say illusory, it's just a story. It's a real story, but it's no more than that. And in the seeming absence of the one who needed to know, the story remains. You could say the story is exactly the same, but it just doesn't have all the weight, all the reality that was given to it by it being mine. And for self, the only story that's real is mine. Your story is never real to me. It's just a story. My story, on the other hand, is my story of my life. And the only weight I give to that, and by weight I mean reality, is how that affects me. So if your story or any story doesn't seem relevant to me, then of course it's not even heard. And if it's heard, it's dismissed. Well, that's not significant, because everything is always in relation to how it relates to me and my life. And so life is very narrow for me, with me at the center, with me in the spotlight, with everything revolving around me. And it's all for the desire to be significant. Insignificance is a dreadful thought for self. And the relative significance of each human being, that remains. In fact, it's much clearer how relatively significant human beings are to each other when they're not seen through the filter or in relation to me. Because I always say, well, they're significant because I know them and I'm in a relationship with them. And it's this illusion of knowing that makes some human beings significant and others insignificant. Everyone is a complete stranger. And in that, no one is a stranger. There's no knowing of self and there's no knowing of others. And in that is absolute equality. When everyone's equally insignificant, no one's insignificant. And that complete equality, that impossibility of knowing, feels like love. Not a love that I would recognize, that self would recognize, because love, as I understand it, for me, for the self, is what's in it for me. What do I get out of this? Well, the truth is there is nothing to get out of life. There is no one to get anything out of life. That's the amazing, amazing unconditional love that you've heard talked about. And there isn't a love, it's almost the exact opposite of romantic love. It's not a romantic love. It's not a soft love. It's hard. It's ruthless. It's completely uncompromising. And yet it's everything. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you love everything. Unconditional love is everything. So it's all emotions, it's all feelings. It's all sensations. It's all what's happening. It's all as it is. And it doesn't mean you like it. It's a love that isn't interested in what you like or dislike. So there should be another word, but there isn't. And words will always fall short of being able to describe everything and nothing. This message is really useless, you know. That's the love. If it had a purpose, if it had a point, if it wouldn't be a loving message, because it would be for those who could get it. And this isn't about getting. And it sounds as though it's about losing, but it's not about losing either. Because that's what when I was seeking, I definitely had it in my mind that this message was about what I need to lose in order to be free. And of course, you could, in one way, you could say, well, everything that I've called mine. But that turns out to be nothing at all. Nothing has ever been yours. Not even yourself. And I never used to get it when Tony used to talk about absolute poverty. In his Jesus moments, he would he would talk about absolute poverty. And I was thinking, well, yeah, I've got to lose that, and I've got to lose that. I've got to lose that. I've got to let that go. Got to surrender that. But there is nothing to be lost. And the reason there's nothing to be lost is because there was never anything gained. Whatever gains you've told yourself, whatever you say to yourself that you possess, is a lie. There's no possession. Oh, I've gone a bit John Lennon there, I think. There's no heaven and hell. Oh, yeah. Oh, no religion too. Just imagine. You don't have to imagine, by the way. It's as it is. But there was a reason I always loved that song. Because, you know, John was touching on this. But of course, it was in his view, it was in an imagined future. It was somewhere else. It was a possibility, you know, that there could be a new world. There could be an age of Aquarius. I was reading that today. What a lovely fantasy. Not only is there not an age of Aquarius to come, there's absolutely nothing to come. So the wonderful news is what John was, I've gotten John Lennon completely now, what he was fantasizing about is not in some imagined future, is not in some, you know, some heaven to come, some nirvana, some new Eden, whatever fantasies, you know, you might have. The wonder is that that's how it is already. When stories are just stories, stories of religion, stories of nationality, stories of gender, stories, all the stories that self tells itself in giving itself an identity. So then at least I know, at least I have some sort of framework on which I can feel solid. It's all illusion, all of that. Whatever you've identified as yourself, all beliefs and all non-beliefs. Because religion gets a bit of bashing in non-duality, but atheists are the most, a lot of atheists I know are the most fundamentalists in their belief, that they don't have belief and that belief's wrong. Because of course a belief in science is, as you know, that will save humanity. It's our only hope. Well, whether you make science or God your God, it's just another identity. Won't save you. I'm not anti-science, by the way. Okay. Right. Okay, if you'd like to ask any questions, then do so. If you'd like to share anything, do that. Put your hand up, and Darren will spot it, or I will. But you're welcome to contribute anything, really. Ian's come up with a nice line. Ownership is onerous. Very good.
It also sounds like a dinosaur that's one with everything, or a onerous.
That's not so good. That's one for Alfie. That's a 6-year-old joke.
Yeah.
What do you call a dinosaur with one eye? Do you think he saw us?
Boom.
That's Alfie's favorite joke. And this was one from my brother. This is not an Alfie joke. What do you call a guy who's woken up in the morning after he's had a vindaloo and 10 pints? A megasaurus. That's the two levels of humor that I get from my brother and my son.
Pam in the background saying very rude.
Very rude. She did say very rude. Anyway.
I've got one that I had from earlier. It's joke week, isn't it? Joke day. What's Forrest Gump's password? I told you this one earlier. Forrest Gump's password.
You don't want me to spoil it?
One Forrest one.
It's quite good. Alice, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Yeah, hi Alice.
Hi.
Sorry about the terrible jokes.
It's okay. I don't recall exactly what was said on February 3rd. I listened to your video again on YouTube, and there was something said about earning a living and the mundaneness of going to work every day. And I'm not repeating it like he said exactly, to which your response was much longer than this, but it was like I could use a new car. And but for me, there was like a little misunderstanding. I guess where I come from, I want to house myself and feed myself. So I do go to a job that pays me so I can do those things.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm thinking that, here I'm thinking again, but that there's perhaps a way to do that, and to know that I'm really not doing that in a sense, but I've gotten confused. Can you clarify a little more on that?
Well, it is just as it is, Alice. So if there's a necessity or a sense of necessity that you need money in order to live, then it's very likely that you get a job or you stay in the job that you've got. It's not, I haven't really got anything to say about it.
Okay.
But yeah, you do need money.
Okay.
It is surprising how little money you need. You know, what most people, the amount of money that most human beings say they need in order to be happy or to be okay is much less than they think it is. But yeah, of course, you do need a certain level of income in order just to have basic, you know, food, warmth, shelter. Yeah, yeah, of course. But whether there's me or not, that's going to happen, because a body won't choose to be homeless. I mean, maybe there are a few human beings who feel that they have chosen it, but I think if you ask most homeless people, they won't say they're there by choice. And of course, there is no choice, but every human being is just doing what they're doing, Alice. That's the whole message.
Yes.
And the illusion is that they can choose to do or not do what they're doing or not doing.
Yes, I see that.
But it's just happening as it is. So if there's going to work, there's going to work. This message doesn't say that there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with anything. But it's not right either. What does die, what seems to die, is that ethic that work is better than not work. You know, the righteousness of work, which I'm sure if we, in the UK, we call it Protestant work ethic, but whether you're Catholic, Hindu, or Jewish, or whatever tradition you've been brought up in, or atheist, most, certainly in Western culture, but even more so, it seems, in a lot of Eastern cultures, actually. I think of the work ethic in Japan, in Japanese culture, and it's, you know, it's amplified 100 times. Work is God. And of course, not only does God die, but any other gods you might have had, which is, you know, holiness, righteousness. And one of the great freedoms is the death of the righteousness of work. You know, I'm worthy because I work. I'm worthy because of my work. This doesn't, you know, this message absolutely destroys all of that as just a conditioned story that I mean, we've had it rammed down our throats as children. You know, we had that conditioning very powerfully. Most of us. I certainly did. You know, laziness was one of the greatest sins. Idleness. The devil makes work for idle hands. You know, if I'm idle, well, that's asking for trouble. Get him working. Bring back conscription as well, of course. Get him in the armed forces. That'll help. Teach him some discipline. So freedom from that. Yeah, I've really not talked about that much. It's not at the forefront of when I speak about this, but that is a great relief. That's very liberating for that to be dead. But it isn't replaced by something that's anti-work. It's just the death of that there's something very noble about work. You know, that noble righteousness.
Scott has his hand up.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Tim. Hey, everyone. I kind of fell for a person this week. I'm going to make a short confession. I know you'll enjoy it. I met a really sweet girl a couple weeks ago, and we went on a date. And
what is this, blind date?
No, we met at a bar, and then we set it up. And took
no, I meant this meeting.
Come around. No.
Go on.
We had a great evening, but the last couple of days, there's just been a whole bunch of red flags, and I kind of went through a little bit of mourning. I guess I got really excited too fast or something. It's the first time I met someone who was that smart and that, you know, willing to have a nice conversation in a while. And I got really sad for a couple of days, and I just sat in the sadness. And I think what happened, I'm trying to kind of figure out, how did I lose the kingdom so quickly? And when you were just saying this love is hard and ruthless, I'm thinking, you know what? It's not like it's in steps. It's everything. It's not like percentage. It's everything.
Yeah.
So what I was doing was I was putting this one person outside of that.
Yeah. Well, of
And
course.
and what that did,
well,
it turned
well,
off the whole, it turned off the whole window. It shut everything down. And then I'm thinking, I need to, what am I doing here? I'm trying to learn how to incorporate that into the unity, but I don't know how to do that because we think personal love is
Well,
somehow outside of that, you know?
Yeah, there isn't anything outside of it, Scott. So you never had any choice in all of that anyway.
I know. And in fact, sitting and thinking, now I've suffered, I accept that too, was part of me incorporating the whole, let's call it the human love, because it's not the hard love that's 100%. It's a kind of a softer love.
Yeah.
And it feels personal. And I think it's really hard to incorporate the two. It's like our destiny to do it. But I think that's where we got in trouble when we were 2 years old with mom and dad or something, you know?
Well, the thing about this, that this in no way am I suggesting that this shuts out what you'd call human love or relative love, you know, relational love, romantic love. Not at all. I would, if I was guessing, I'd say you're much more vulnerable to that, Scott, so that your story doesn't surprise me one bit. Because what seems to happen, of course, I'm the boundary usually. I'm the defense mechanism that would go, there's some alarm bells, I won't go there. Well, whether there's alarm bells or not, it'll probably just go, you know, there'll be just a going for it. Because that's without the, you know, without me thinking about, oh, I need to look after myself here. I've been hurt before. I know how painful it is. I'm not going through that again.
Yeah, no, I can't let myself get entangled again.
Yeah.
It was like, and it was sad because I knew that I'd gone through this, I'd been at the same step so many times and I didn't know any better. And I actually later I was proud of myself, you know, oh, you held the power. You cared about yourself, you know, you defended your heart and you stayed in the unity and you didn't.
Well,
it could just be me. I don't know if everybody has it.
That what we're calling, you know, being in love. Of course, this is not a defense in any way against that. Not at all. This is saying there are no defenses. How could there be?
You know, I could see the personal love as being an acceptance of less love, a kind of wanting a filter, wanting a funnel, wanting not, you know, preparing me for the big love, but in a way it was an excuse.
But that sense of it's not really. It's
I'm not trying to say I'm not going to fall in love again. I'm just saying I could see how it was convenient for my ego to say I could take this much love now, but not the big hard love.
Yeah.
Because it's I think we create the ego not because of our wounds, but because there was too much love and we were getting wounded by too much love. So we're protecting ourselves from too much love.
Can be. Well, we so fear the loss of it. Yeah.
But it's crazy stuff because if you give it away, then you get it all. It's just crazy how the mind, the bastard, he's flipped the whole thing on its head.
The problem with that, Scott, is you just can't give it away. You know, any more than you can take it and have it for yourself. Nothing's yours to give away. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. In the seeming loss of everything, I didn't do any of it. I didn't give it away. It seemed as though it was taken, but that's just a story as well. Nothing was taken. There is no gain and no loss here.
You know, I wasn't afraid of her leaving me or taking the love away. That was interesting. I was afraid of getting caught in that trap where it looks like love is limited. Like
Yeah.
it was like entering into a cage or something, but it was weird. But I could see that I was about to go into the cage, and but I had all this love, and I'm like, God, if you go into the cage, all this love, you're not going to know where to put it. You're just gonna
No.
you're gonna try to give to one person. And I could see I've been doing that with my job. I've been doing that.
Yeah.
It's
well, the truth about love is that it never goes anywhere. It's never put anywhere. It just is, you know.
Yeah.
And there isn't. And the other thing that self says about love is, of course, it's in limited supply. There's only so much to go around. I've only got so much. They've only got so much. There's only so much, you know. So I need to be rationing it. I need to, you know, this completely open, you could say, complete openness is absolute vulnerability. So self won't go there.
Yeah.
Might go there very occasionally, and then gets terrified and withdraws to a place of security where it's managing love. Well, this love won't be managed. That's really what we're talking about. So we could say that life is love, not a romantic love, but, and there isn't a limited supply. There isn't a supply. It doesn't come from somewhere to go somewhere else.
But we go into this because we've always thought that.
Yeah.
We always thought it was limited, and it's familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
And you know, the love will blow us away like a nuclear explosion. So
yeah.
you know, we're going in, you know, on tiptoes. I don't think it's personal love that any of us is looking for. I just think it helps us. It's like a stopgap where we can go in at our own controlled pace.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thanks.
I totally agree with you that self-honesty is the highest love. It's really, you know, just being able to sit with yourself through this stuff and go, okay, where am I cheating myself on love?
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a bad idea, Scott.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Scott. Hmm. Yeah, it's one of the great paradoxes of this is that I was always looking to be more loving to myself, more compassionate to myself. Of course, that was just the other side of the very same coin that I used to chastise myself, to loathe myself, to hate myself, to punish myself.
To withhold love from myself.
That's what self is. Self is the withholding, is the holding. You know, that you can hold this. There's no holding this. The whole illusion is that you are holding life as my life. You know, that I hold it. And how paradoxical that desire to give myself enough love is completely unnecessary, because the one who needed it is completely unnecessary. There's no one who needs that. Anyway.
Isn't it kind of like just saying, don't you love yourself enough to take a chance?
Well, the thing is, taking chance or not, you know.
I mean, take a chance that the universe is okay, that you're, it's a constant question of how much, I don't want to say faith, but it's something like that. It's like,
yeah,
I trust that it's going to be okay and it's going to love me. And
well, the thing is, the universe doesn't love you. I mean, that's, again, it's hugely paradoxical. The universe doesn't love you at all. The universe doesn't even know you exist. The universe does not recognize it, does not see you. There is nothing for the universe to see. And that's incredible. How can that be love? I don't know how it can, but there it is. How is that at all loving? That complete indifference, utter, well, it's a dismissal. It's a complete dismissal of everything that you've called yourself. It's just, and that's love. I know it doesn't make any sense. It can't, it's, the thing is, it still doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. But that's love. There's no recognition. That you can't be seen. And all I ever longed for, you know, in order to be complete, I wanted to be seen by the other, you know, completely seen. Well, there was a good reason I longed for that. It's because I couldn't bloody see myself. Yeah. And you can't either. So of course, maybe in the reflection of my lover, that perfect lover, the one, when I find them and they can see me, then I'll be okay. And nearly all human beings, that is the story of their life. Waiting for the one who will see them for who they truly are. Well, there's nothing to see. You know, if ever there was a futile exercise, but self can do no other. I can't find myself, or what self I can find is incomplete. And so I'm always looking. I'm always looking for that one who will complete me, make me whole. And who would ever believe, I wouldn't have believed, certainly, that complete emptiness is the wholeness that you've longed for. This is completely empty.
Can I just, I think the what is, it's only able to love itself. And so.
Would you know, I don't even have a sense that it's that, Scott, but I mean,
but that's,
I'm not saying I'm right.
It's like, it's in love. It is love, so.
The thing is, if you make,
I'm not trying to figure it out, I'm trying to get out of the way.
If you make what is into, you know, and basically you've just called what is God, then. Yeah. It's just another idea. So what is just another word for God, you know, and God is love. Yeah. There isn't a what is that loves itself. What is just an empty expression trying to express this, as is the word this, as is any other word or expression you wanted to come up with. If you're looking for the right words, I can't emphasize enough, there's no truth in words. There's just, some will resonate, some will feel, you know, for some human beings that they'll like some words and they won't like others. That doesn't make them right or true. I can't emphasize that enough. This isn't about finding, it's certainly not about finding the words. Krista says, Tim, here it's work, work, work all days in the week, but I'm vanishing into dreadful demotivation. Can you talk about the story of how work stopped happening? Do you want me to tell you that story, Krista? Okay. Well, it wasn't all in one go. You know, it wasn't a flash of lightning and a bolt of lightning, and work became increasingly difficult. I became more and more demotivated. Couldn't see the point. Actually, as well, along with that, I felt more and more incompetent as well. I think I actually became, I didn't just feel it, I felt it. You know, cliches like your heart's not in it anymore. So my heart wasn't in it anymore. Well, you're never going to be very good at anything when you're not, your heart's not in it. But then the final straw, Krista, I was a teacher, and you know, I'd been struggling for months. And then one day I drove to work and I got to the gate, and I couldn't get through the gate. And it was really like, it was a really physical sense. There's no going through that gate today. And so I backed up in the gateway and drove home, and that was my last day. It was followed by a lot of weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth, I would call it. You know, as me kicked and screamed, said, "You're done for here. What the fuck are you going to do now?" And there was no answer came. As I screamed out into the universe for guidance, there was a resounding silence. There were no answers that came. And if anything, if this is anything, this speaking about what we're speaking about, it is that no answer trying to be heard, trying to speak that no answer. That you can ask all the questions you want. You can ask all the expert human beings. You can ask all the gods. You can ask who the fuck you like. Your questions do not have answers. They do not have answers that will satisfy you. And that is disappointing. It's more than disappointing, it is devastating. And so that not going to work, Krista, you know, that was the, because of so much of Tim's self-image, and having been in the same profession for 30 years, a lot of self-worth, everything that's got self in front of it, in fact, you know, self-esteem, self-worth, was all wrapped up in who I was. So who was I? Well, if anyone asked me, my answer was always teacher. And then it was obvious there was no way I was going to do that anymore. It literally became impossible. And that was, in a very real sense, that it was choiceless. You know, I couldn't get through the gate. And if I'd have gone the next day, I couldn't have got through the gate, or any other day. I'm not saying it lightly, it was grim. It was grim. Because you know, self was so threatened. But it was a job. That's it. But it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a job, was it? So much of myself was wrapped up in, that's who I was. That's who I am. That's what I'm good at.
Matt has his hand up.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, hello. What you've been speaking now about not having job, and also about what it looks like with romantic relationships, and there are other similar things. It touches something that worries me now concerning this non-dual thing. So could you, one way to try to so to speak, get some information in this area, could you describe a little what happens when you meet with mainstream society, let's call it, people who think that self-esteem is in fact very well, much connected with having a work, and
Yeah.
you know, romantic relationships is the most important part of life, and that is what love is. All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or someone blaming you for something bad happened, and they are blaming you, saying you were responsible, well, you shouldn't have done that. This kind of thing. Can you speak a little about this?
Oh yeah, it's exactly the same as before, Matt. It really is that simple. I mean, you know, the whole idea that it's you responding in a certain way when you're asked about certain things. That's not how it is. So I think you'd have to really ask others, but I think I respond exactly the same as I would have done.
But what is the experience? You just hear your mouth saying things, and
Just really, really boring stories.
like watching a bad movie, you mean?
Yeah, it's not always a bad movie. Sometimes it's entertaining. You know, some people tell you the story of what's going on, because really all we're talking about when we're in conversation with other human beings, 99% of the time, we're just relaying the story of our lives to each other. And yeah, you could say they're just like good books or movies, and some are entertaining, and most are incredibly tedious, aren't they? So we naturally gravitate, and by the way, this is exactly the same here. You naturally gravitate towards, it's not you doing it, but you'll gravitate towards those stories that you find entertaining, and those people whose stories you don't mind listening to. And yeah, it's really very simple, Matt. It's no big deal. There you go. It's so much less of a big deal than it would have been for me, because I would, of course, especially if they had problems, one thing that I'd always be trying to do is help them sort them out. So you don't have that anymore. That's a great relief, not to have that sense that, oh, I need to be helping them. That can happen still, but, you know, not having that burden of responsibility for friends and family, and just generally anyone you meet who's got a problem, to help them sort it out. So in general, it's much easier, Matt.
And you said you were gravitating towards certain things. Could you say this is the what corresponds to what was previously making decisions and believing to have a free will and making choices? Now you just seem to gravitate to certain things more than others.
Pretty much the same again. I mean, a human being, you know, a human being's preferences, what's liked and disliked, it just weren't your likes and dislikes. That's it. They're not. So Matt says, I like this, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to choose to do the more righteous or the more noble. There might be less of that, Matt, and you'll just do what you like doing a bit more. You know, that's probable, but there's no rules about it. It's not you doing any of that, Matt.
But continuing from your latest example, when I want to do something, but then there's the righteous part telling me, no, it's better to do that. Do you have any of that kind of inner dialogue debating anymore?
I think, yeah, I maybe a little bit, but not even, I don't even recognize, it's not even noticed. If there is that dialogue, it goes unnoticed. Yeah. But yeah, thoughts, by the way, the dialogue, I don't think dialogue happens, just thoughts happen. And then we call it a dialogue. And Matt's might have a dialogue with, you know, he wants to do one thing, but there's something else. The other choice is a more noble, other people will approve of more. And so then there's that discussion that Matt has with Matt. about which one we're going to choose. Well, those thoughts just naturally happen. They're not, there's no one having those thoughts or doing those thoughts. And the seeming decision, which we're calling free will, the seeming going with one of those thoughts and not the other one, that naturally happens as well. And the thought that comes after acting on one of those thoughts, which says, oh, I could have done the other one, that naturally happens as well. There's no Matt's doing any of that.
So that's the only difference, it seems now.
Well, the difference. So I think free will is a tricky one. So there is the appearance of free will and choice. So choices still appear to be made. You know, you ask me tea or coffee, Matt, and I'll just, you know, one will come out of the mouth. And then just like it would with Matt's, the difference might be Matt said, I've chosen tea. And even if I said I've chosen tea, having chosen tea, it wouldn't, there would be no sense of me doing that. It's no different at all and completely different. That's as good as I'm coming up with today. No different at all and completely different.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because really what you're doing, Matt, so what you're doing with asking these questions is you're saying, so how will it be different without me? Is that really, that's what you're asking me?
I guess one reason this questions comes up is that I have some something might be afraid of letting go because of this habit of having this kind of, particularly the kind you mentioned yourself, the inner dialogue between the righteous one and the, let us say, the one who just wants pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, I know there is no answers to this question, but it is also my experience that sometimes it's feels good to hear the energy that comes with speaking about it.
Yeah. So there's no this isn't the death of the righteous one and then the one that just can do what he wants to do will have free reign to do what he wants to do, you know, so it'd be all out of balance. So I mean that's a real scare story that self can tell itself. So at the moment I've done a bit of Freud, so I'll do a bit of Freudian now. So my super ego keeps me in check, and my id, which is a sexual beast, will just run amok, just being the biggest hedonist imaginable, a beast, a monster. You know, I'll be a monster. Well, that is self. That's the essence of self. I will be a monster without me keeping me in check. Well, the me that's keeping me in check, he's fucking dead. The me that would feared it would be a monster, he's dead as well. What you're left with, fuck knows. If anyone tells you they know what they're left with, in the absence of all the aspects of self, they're all illusory. There isn't one less illusory. So it isn't that superego, in Freud's term, you know, he wasn't a dualist, he was a whatever three is, trialist. He split self into three parts. And believe it or not, the whole of the psychiatric profession is built on that shit. No wonder it's crap going to see a psychiatrist. They still believe all that bollocks. Terrible. Anyway, I won't go into that. I could get on my soapbox about that. Yeah, so this isn't that an aspect of self falls away and then you're just left with, you know, the bit that you wanted to keep. You know, I want to get rid of that hard, chastising, self-loathing, self-critical self. And I just want to be with the loving, beautiful self that I know myself to be. Bullshit. There's nothing there. There's nothing to remain. There's nothing to hold on to. It'll all go. And in the all going, seen that there was never any, it was empty all along. What you've called yourself was empty all along, is empty all along. There's nothing inside. Vacuous. That's what you are. I can remember using that as an insult to children who weren't paying attention in class. So tell me the 3 main points of today's lesson. Sorry, sir, I can't remember any of it. Oh, you vacuous fool. I was quite harsh. But there was there was a lot of truth in it. Empty, yeah. And emptiness is always feared. You know, that's what self fears most. And the love is that nothing is nothing to fear. And love is nothing.
So the way I take this in now, it's like, you know, this can be quite troublesome when you get into this kind of, you know, superego id fights. And when listening to you, it's just a big joke, all of it. And
it's all a joke. All of the whole of psychology. It's just, don't talk about elaborate stories. I mean, look, read Lord of the Rings if you want an elaborate story. Don't read psychology books.
yeah.
You know, read a good story if you want a story. Don't read the story of how the mind works. The mind is made up. It's all made up. You know, read something that is, at least is entertaining. Well,
I saw Lord of the Rings recently, and they're making a big point that you cannot throw away the ring. That's not possible. Like you cannot kill the ego. Also, similar to that, I think.
Well, I think you're reading too much. Oh, yeah, but he was like that. Tolkien was yeah. It was all symbolic, wasn't it?
Maybe we should drop this subject. Well, thank you for your answer.
Oh, you're welcome, Mats. Thank you. What's time? 7 minutes past. Well, we were a bit late to starting. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to say or ask me? Is there anything? Orgia says he agrees and he's a psychologist. So he should know. He should know what bollocks he speaks. He's an expert in the field. He's got letters after his name. So, of course, that's significant. That means something, right?
The joke is I get paid for it as well.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You paid good money for that.
That's the best joke of all. Funny.
So it's not that there's not value in learning, but not when we're speaking about this. It's just, yeah, relatively there is. So, and I'm not actually, I'm not saying I would never tell anyone to not see a therapist or a counselor, or even a psychologist. Yeah, as well. You could see them. Psychiatrists, I wouldn't. I just, I don't know if we've got any psychiatrists with us today, but my experience of them isn't great. You know, because all it is medicalizing suffering. It's making it, it's just looking at you, you've got a label. It's just a labeling system. So you can go to a good counselor who'll listen to your agony, and that's about as good as you can get. A good therapist is the same as a good friend. You can just tell them how shit it is, and they can go, yeah, that's shit. And that is as good as we've got with each other. There's my recommendation to be a good therapist to your friends. So your friend says to you, they tell you their story, and they go, and it's just fucking dreadful. And the best you've got is going, yeah, that is dreadful. And that's love. Not dismissing it, not saying, oh yeah, but what about all the positives? What about, fuck that, that's awful. That's nothing worse than that. And then, well, there is something slightly worse. Well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried? Yes, of course. That's why they're so devastated. They've tried all that shit.
I think the thing about going to see a therapist is that at least the people that go, they realize that I'm not gonna make it happen myself. There's a sort of a, you know, because I come from, you know, a background of, you know, in Hungary, and everybody comes from a place like, you know, nobody went to anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
I've never been either, but as you were talking about it now, it's like that was like a failure of life if you ended up at a psychologist. So it's like, you know, and at least it's like, well, I'm not gonna, I can't manage. I need assistance.
Yeah. And yeah, and you're right, Joey, because in this message really is the ultimate failure.
Yeah.
You know, you think you failed, but maybe not quite enough.
The bad thing about it is that then they'll give you there's, you know, you're rearranging the furniture in a way. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I used to describe it like that. So yeah, I'd put some new curtains up in my room, and you know, in my room of self, buy a new sofa. And I think I'm stealing from Paul Hederman there. I think that's what he says. Yeah, so you go to your therapist, and because your room is dark and it's really, and you pull the curtains back and you buy a new rug to put in front of you. But then the whole room needs decorating. So then you have to work really extra hard because you've got one new thing, and then all the rest of the decor looks terrible. It's a never-ending exercise, isn't it? You know, you don't actually ever achieve the room that you really wanted, that you really would feel comfortable in. Well, that's the terrible thing of self. You know, it is never comfortable in its room that is built for itself. But the great news is, you know, there's no room. You are never inside. There's nothing inside. It's not even an empty room. The room doesn't have any walls. It doesn't have a ceiling. It doesn't have a floor. It doesn't have any ground. This is emptiness. It's even empty of emptiness. That you've called self. And that's terrifying. It feels terrifying, you know. We've got terrifying words to terrify ourselves about the emptiness. We call it the void or the abyss. These terrifying words of utter emptiness, total desolation. Well, you know, it's like the stories that we were told as children and we felt as children, and we've carried that into adult life as though that's really something to fear, when in fact there is nothing to fear about nothing. It's completely neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's not light or dark. It's completely empty and then full of everything. And everything is completely empty. You know, everything is the void.
I was chatting to Michael Markham yesterday, Tim. He said something like, I think he posted something like, God, when you believe in God, nothing makes sense. And I sent him a message back saying something, God is a way of making sense of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing about I mean, there's a lovely Rebecca Maroon, if you know Rebecca, you've seen her. She's written a lovely non-duality book, which called This Is God. She was a devout Christian, and then you could say the emptiness descended. And but she retained the word God, but is a completely empty God. And I was an atheist, at best an agnostic. So I was quite anti the word God. And then I heard her speak, and I thought, oh no, it's fine. That God, that one, yeah, that's right. He's not doing anything. He's not making a fuss. He's not demanding. He's not judging. He's not doing anything. He's empty. Empty. How lovely. Now that kind of God, he's all right. She's all right. And the other amazing thing about emptiness is it's completely okay. You know, there's an okayness about nothing that something could never have. Something is always relative. It's always on a scale. It's all somewhere between astounding to atrocious. It's somewhere. Something always is. It's because it's something. Nothing is utterly neutral, and that's what life is. And there's an okayness with emptiness or nothing, not being something that something could never have. So I didn't make a list like I said I would last Wednesday, but I could add that one to it. That's a list of reasons that this is worth talking about. Well, I did ask Heidi. She's not even turned up. I'm guessing she's not turned up because she hasn't done the job that I asked her to do, which was to make the list. You know, kids bunk in school just because they haven't done their homework. Don't pretend you didn't do that, or you at least thought about it. Oh my God, I've got him today or her today. Oh, shit, I haven't done the homework. I don't think I can go to school. Me and my school stories. It's all still there, just comes up.
I got so good at signing my dad's signature.
Yeah.
To get off games.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked for me. I'd have spotted that. Again, Robinson. Humiliating the child by calling him by his surname. It's a favoured ploy of teachers. Right, well, lovely to see you all. I don't know what I've waffled on about today, but I've enjoyed it, so thank you very much. Now, you can look at this one of two ways. You've got a treat, or you'll have to stay off the internet. I've got a meeting on Wednesday with Nothing FM, which is going to be on YouTube, live stream. Darren, can you say something about that? Because I don't know how it works.
Oh, okay. So I think what they do, there's a Zoom meeting that gets restreamed to Facebook and YouTube all at the same time. So you can watch it on either platform. You can send messages which will get through to the main Zoom meeting. But I think if you go to the Nothing FM site, you can actually join the Zoom meeting as well.
Oh, well,
So
if you would like to come, I'd rather you join the Zoom meeting if you want to come, because then I've got someone to talk to. I don't want to have to talk to Darren and Emerson.
I have to tell you, when they first started it, it was a lot less intimate, but I didn't know that maybe that's a new thing that you can join the Zoom, because I really missed it when Andreas did it for the first time. You know, it was quite.
Yeah, Joey, I'm assuming that because I did one with Anne and we did have people joining the Zoom, and I think that's through their website. So there's a Zoom link through there.
Okay.
And but if not, if that doesn't work, yeah, YouTube or Facebook, it'll
Right.
be streamed there, and you can ask questions.
Maybe
So
you
if
can
you just
find out.
want-
Maybe,
Yeah, go on.
maybe you can find out what the Zoom link is, and then ask it from them, and you can put it on your Facebook and your website, so that that way for all of us that are here, they're easily click on it.
Or if you can't do that, Tim, yeah, go to nothing.fm, and on the schedule there will be Tim's meeting will be shown, and I think if you click on that, you'll be able to get the
Okay.
link.
So that's Wednesday, and meeting as normal on Thursday at 7. So thanks very much. Nice to see you all. For any trainee psychologists or psychiatrists out there, I'm not apologizing. You can't help it. If you think that's a good thing to do, you can't help it. And if there's any teachers out there, bless you. Bless
Thanks.
you. Bless you all. Rob Hearn, bless you if you're still doing that.
Yeah, I still do it.
Well done.
Thanks.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, that's how I look at it like that as well.
You're doing it virtually though, Rob, I guess.
No, I'm actually there.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
there.
looking
Yeah.
after the vulnerable,
Oh, yeah.
ones and the children of key workers. And it's
Oh.
actually quite nice, quite
Small
it's like
classes.
very small, and I've got lovely groups. No, it's
Oh.
really all right. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds good. It
Good.
sounds much better than before.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I've been enjoying it. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Rob. Nice to see all of you. Take care, and I'll maybe see some of you on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, and just quickly, just before you go, I've just had a look on Nothing FM, so you can go to it. Go to streams, and then on Tim's page, you probably can't see this, there's a little page, and then there's a register button sort of down there somewhere, and I think if you register, that will send you the Zoom link.
Okay. So if you want to join the Zoom, or you just go on YouTube, and there they are.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Tim.
Thank you. Take care.
Cheers,
Bye.
take
Thank you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Tim. Bye.
Lovely Laurel and Hardy. I've had 3 people send me that in the last 2 weeks. Bye. Bye-bye now. If you've not seen it, you just Google Laurel and Hardy goodbye. Bye.